All right, I want to thank everybody for coming. We have a great deal review call tonight. Our team is growing. As there's new people on this call, we self-manage, which is something really awesome. Chris is going to get into. That's the only reason that I do syndication is because we self-manage. I do deals on my own also, but self-manage is very important. Chris will cover that. But as far as our team, real quick, can't give a shout out to everybody that we're growing in, but I want to start with Yosef Lee. Yosef, really proud of you. All your hard work, buddy. All the legal due diligence, all the OAs, getting over the stuff to Lorena today. You're just, Yosef, I got to tell Yosef to go to sleep at night. He'll text me 11 o'clock and I'm like, get some rest, please. So, Yosef, really proud of you, buddy. Lauren, great work with Chris on the presentation, on the tear sheet, on the executive summary, on everything. Lauren's been a big, big addition to the Sharpline team. It's just really organization and staying on top of things, and her marketing background and everything she does is very, very important. I don't have to say anything about Krista. We know about Krista, all the asset management she does, and she's on top of everything, and she's going to introduce herself quickly later. And her sidekick, Veronica, I'm not sure if she's on here, but Veronica is the best. And I'm so happy we found Veronica because she makes Krista really happy. So just a few people. Isaac Holtz, if you're out there, keep crushing it, keep doing what you're doing. There you are, buddy. One of our big team members I brought on the team, running a big part of KC. I'm not sure if Sarah's out there. Just want to say hello to Sarah also. She's working alongside Isaac and Chris and the whole team every day in Springfield and Columbus, wherever she's needed. And that's it. We're gonna move on. And first, I know there's gonna be a lot of new people on this call tonight. So we're gonna do very quick intros, not long ones, because this call is awesome. I don't get excited about deals. When they go in contract, people get excited normally. I don't get excited when they go into contract. I get excited 2 days. Inspection day, I love inspections, especially when our inspection team's on site and they start giving us positive news, and I can walk units and I could see for myself what we're getting, what the deal's looking like. And then the second day is the day before this presentation when I get on with Chris and he puts it together and we get the visualization of what everything's going to be. It gets really exciting yesterday for today. So for the new people that don't know me on the call, just want to introduce myself. Marco Barbaro, former restaurant owner, executive chef, owner of 49 multifamily deals and over 3,800 units, all that are self-managed now except for one, but all of them are self-managed. Co-founder of MIH Mastermind, where I'm the leader and mentor to over 250 students, and most importantly, father of 3 beautiful girls. And that's about it for me. I would love to hand it over to Chris right now, and you could start sharing the presentation or the wins or anything that's going on.
Sure. I think we're going to get the presentation fired up here. Thanks for joining us, everybody, tonight. See a lot of old faces here. Lots of repeat investors. Thank you so much, all you investors that have been with us on many deals. As Krista reminded me today, I don't count anymore the exact count, but she told us that this is the 21st deal we've done, multifamily, in the last 10 years. So thank you to the investors. There are some investors in every single one. So for those, it almost acts like a fund, if you will. We offer these as individual investments, and that's the way that we've done it. And there are some new people here to get to know us and that want to that know some of the principles and that want to get to know us better. And we'll get through some of the intros first. I know some of the repeat people here are like, oh, here they go do the intros, but the Sharpline investor family is growing. So we do want to introduce ourselves so you can get to know us and find out a little bit about us. Go ahead, Lauren. Okay, so I'll just give you a quick little teaser here that we will talk about this deal and then we'll go into some little quick intros. This is the Sundance Paola Apartments. There's 2 of them, 40 units each, and they are about a half a mile apart. 1999 build and 2003 build. And it's LITHC Burnoff. For some of you that don't know that, it's low income housing tax credit burnoff. So what that means is the previous owner was part of a system that they were governed to get in certain tax breaks, but forced to be income restricted. That timeline ends. And then you can go to market. And when the income restrictions versus what you can get in the market is a lot greater, and you're willing to go through that period where you slowly turn the resident base and put the put put money into the units. A lot of times the residents stay also, so it's not about just complete resident turnover. A lot of people don't want to leave. These are great areas that we invest in, so they want to stay, and then they just go to market gradually. So that a LIHTC Burnoff deal is really sought after. We just did one. We've done two actually. And this is a true off market. For those that don't know, a lot of people tout off market. And that just means sometimes that it's not what's called a cattle call, where if it's on market, it's like everybody knows about it. The bidders come out, and whoever the highest bidder is, I mean, it's not always the highest bidder, but you end up in a bidding war a lot of times. We've done the cattle call times where we have a good relationship with the broker, and the broker gives the word for us and says they may not be the highest, but they will close, and they transact smoothly, and they're good operators. So they've done this before. A lot of times sellers don't want to sell to a person that has never done it before. It's risky. You just don't want to do it. You don't want to get into that dance. This is a true off market because we just purchased from this seller. We just transacted with them. And I think that's on the next slide. Lauren, you can show that. Let's see. I think that is yes. So this was the seller, and we got this true off market because we just closed on this. I'll tell you about it in a second. It's exciting, this deal. We closed on it. But this seller said, great transaction. Sharpline did exactly what you said they were going to do. And the seller was smooth with us. We closed. And they said, would they want to take a look at our next one? And actually, we came in really low. And we did a little dance. Came in at 7 million. They wanted 8 million. We were going to do anything less than 7.5 was good. They said 7.6, and we kind of sat there for a little while, and then they just came to us and said 7.4 and it's yours. So that was an off-market deal because they just didn't feel like dealing with the market and doing a dance with another buyer. They knew that we would come through. So that's how you get deals, and I'll showcase the discount we got. But this deal was killer, and this deal is I'll just do it real quick because I get excited about it. Some of the people on this call are in it. It was 32 units, 3 beds and 2 beds, around 2,000 built also, came out of LIHTC as well. And there was acres of land. It's about 3.5 extra acres of land that's zoned for multifamily. So we are going to move forward with moving the rents up over time, increasing the value. And then when the time is right, we will get there to entitle the land and build approximately 30 to 60 more units. It's an exciting deal. It was a small deal for us, 32 units, but because of that land component and the LIHTC, it was a great deal. But this seller liked us and said, here you go. So that's a true off-market deal. So that's where you get the deals. Go ahead, Lauren. Thank you. So who are we? For those that don't know us, my name's Chris. I was a tech guy. I was a computer programmer nerd. And I wanted to get in commercial real estate for most of my life. Real estate, flipped houses, wholesale houses, and then my mentor at the time, he's still a guy I can call, said, man, you have an analytical mind. You should get into multifamily. Krista and I met through our next mentor who taught us how to syndicate the right way. And for all the bad syndicators out there, I wish they had learned the right way, because right now you are hearing some bad things about some syndicators because there was too much power given to too many people with information, and we were taught the right way. And Krista and I have been doing this for 10 years. You can read it there. We've done 9 full cycles. We have 1,700 unit transactions, 9 full cycles. I mean, just raised a lot of equity. And Krista and I have been doing this for 10 years together and have a great partnership with overlapping circles of our skill sets where we overlap, and that's a great thing. And then there are areas that we just concentrate on. And Krista, go ahead and tell everybody about yourself.
Thanks, Chris. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so very quickly, yes, I met Chris when we were in a mentorship program, learning multifamily. I am a lawyer by trade. I gave that up to do this. I'm very happy that I made that decision. I just want to correct one thing Chris said, if you don't mind, because it's kind of awesome. This is our 21st deal that with our active deals. So this will be 21 active deals that we're currently engaged on. We have done quite a number of deals prior to these 21. So we have been really busy. And in fact, just a few fun facts. This is our third deal that we are closing in the last 4 months. We are currently working on refinance number 3 and refinance number 4 in the last 4 months. Also have a couple of properties that we're beginning to market. So our team has been incredibly busy, but man, oh man, we're blessed. We're excited. We're pumped up for everything that's going on in our universe. Very excited to see a lot of our similar faces, but I'm really excited to see a lot of new faces here on this call. And I'm excited for you guys to hear about this deal.
I would add to that, Krista, I would say that in a time of doing refis, when it's difficult to do refis, we have been able to, because of interest rates going up, our broad and deep relationships with various lenders have allowed us to have some really successful refis. And in a time when some haven't been able to refi at all, we've been able to do that. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. And I think a large part of that, I'm going to touch upon it on another slide, but it's there right at the bottom. You know, the team you see here, self-managing 1,500 units was the way we were able to do these, to be able to sell certain assets at a time in the market when a lot of people can't, or they just don't have the performance of the property to take advantage of it. And then to be able to refi as well is because of self-management that we've been doing for 3 years. I'll touch upon that in another slide. And then Marco's there. He's been with us to help us raise the capital. He's been a great partner, and he's part of the management company as well since the beginning for 3 years ago when we did self-managed. Full cycle performance, I'm not going to go over every number here. The average is 22%. As Krista mentioned, we are able to sell a couple of assets, 2 or 3 of them, and feel confident that we're going to land somewhere in this zone. I don't want to just speak because we don't have the offers yet. We can't really speak to exactness, and you have to let the buyers perform. But this is our track record across many different assets and many different geographies and timeline. Go ahead, Lauren. Just a quick snapshot of our portfolio. We have a different, it's not just C class, it's not just A class, it's not just B class. Sharpline self-manages and has invested and exited through all the different asset classes over time. So we have different business plans for different asset classes. We understand the needs of CapEx across the different asset classes and vintages, the year built. Sharpline tends to over CapEx or have rehab money. Sometimes we've learned that wasn't even enough. So our 10 years has taught us that sometimes we need to add more. Sometimes you need to do less because you have a newer product. Maybe you didn't need as much, but we would lean on having more always. And then always give that money back at the end because you don't want to be in a place where you didn't have enough. These buildings are hungry. They have needs, and you want to be able to feed them. So you get good at it after a while when you have been exposed to the different vintages over time. Go ahead, Lauren. So on the self-management side, we started about 3 years ago, self-managing in Kansas City. The reason for that was because Krista and I have had success with exiting properties and asset managing properties with third-party managers. It's very frustrating. It feels like pushing a rope, feels like swimming upstream, whatever analogy you want to make. My analogy that I use all the time is we were taking cricket bats to the face, so we might as well own the cricket bat and hit ourselves because we at least want the control. And anybody that manages buildings here, and I can see some of your faces, and I know some of you that do asset management, you understand it is very active. And you have to go deep into the details, and it is cricket bats to the face. You never know when the cricket bat's coming to hit you in the head. But at least with self-management, if it happens, you can pivot. And you can change your business plan, and that's the beauty of self-management. Sometimes you don't save costs, if you will. You do a lot of times, The main thing is flexibility and speed of pivoting. I can't stress that enough. Like, you have a person on your team that's not performing. If you're doing that third party, that is like a 3 to 6 month to a year situation where you can make a change sometimes. Sometimes, even in self-management, it takes 2 or 3 months to figure it out, but at least you know it, and then you can make a change and you have more control. That was the ability for us to refi. And in a tough time in multifamily for a lot of operators, we were able to make a lot of our assets perform better than our competitors. Go
Here's
ahead.
something we're not going to
Go
go
ahead,
into
Mark.
deep. We're not going to go into deep, but when we self-manage, for example, on one of our properties, we had $100,000 repair on some units and some on the
Yes.
property. We actually did it in-house for $60,000. So if we didn't
Yep.
self-manage, that would have cost us 100,000. And one way to make money in multifamily is to have the power of self-management, in-house ability to save on a lot of costs.
It's a great point. There are certain things where like no company is going to be large enough to just do it all yourself. I mean, you could, but there are times when you just to keep things running in parallel that you have to hire outside vendors, or else your team becomes the pinch point, and then you're causing issues. So we know how to do that correctly. But Marco's point is correct. We had a insurance claim that we thought we were going to win. That's a long story, but we lost it. We still attempt to fight it, if you will, but it was getting to the point where it's like we got to do something about it. We'll fight the claim another day, and it would have been 100 grand. And because our team was able to move and do it themselves slowly, I mean, it was the reserves were there. We were able to do it ourselves, and that's self-management. That another operator would have had a bad day. It really would have been a bad day for another operator, I got to tell you. And so I'm really proud of our team to be able to be nimble like that and save money. Go ahead. All right, so we're here. We're done with our intros and we can get to the deal. I talked about it already a little bit, but we're walking into a 97% occupied LIHTC Burnoff with great unit mix. 3 beds and 2 beds, those command the highest rent. You also get people to stay longer because you can have 2 bed folks that move into 3 beds if you have more kids, or bring on some more relatives into the mix. A 3 bed is going to mostly have families, and they're not going to want to move. So you get longer residencies. And that's something we say at Sharpline. We don't use the word tenant, we say resident. So I'm saying it on purpose. We say resident. And it's going to be self-managed, B class. Let's get into it. Go ahead, Lauren. Oop. Hello, Lauren. There. Oh, there you go. Cool. Thank you. Oh, and these are all classics, guys. Like that's good for us. Like, what it means is that you're getting decent rents already for the price that you're paying. And we're paying 92 and a half a door. I'll go into that in a minute and why that's good. And what it means is we have the choice to decide how much money we're putting into each unit to see where we can take the rents. A lot of times we can get higher rents without creating an occupancy problem. What happens sometimes is if you blast it up too high, you get people to leave, and then you have to kind of struggle with your occupancy. So we can do this with a bit more artistic plan, test it out too. You got to test it out. You can have your best laid plans, but it's good to test it as you get in there. And those classics allow us to do that. The 92 and a half a door is great because this property is going to be self-managed by us, and it's in a triangle. These two are like next to each other like this. And then we have the Spring Hill deal that I'll showcase later that we purchased at the end of December. And that's in an area of Spring Hill. And this is 15 minutes north. And we bought that 1986 built for about 110 a door. So that's 110. And that was still a good deal. We walked into higher rents. That wasn't LIHTC Burnoff. So we could, that's market right away. You don't have, like right now, you do have some housing that you have some residents that still have housing. So you have to have a different plan. And this is 15 minutes south, but still 92 and a half a door. And we're walking in at about 980 average rents. I'll go into that a little bit. Washer dryer hookups, always want that. And the plan is to, with our 700,000 in CapEx, which some is allocated to exterior, about 400,000 is allocated to turns over the years. We are going to decide how to increase the rents by not just dumping $8,000 or $12,000 a unit. And you don't have to do that sometimes. Sometimes you can just go in there, put better hardware on, get countertops, better lighting package, flooring potentially, bathroom vanities. You just find what the unit was lacking or the condition it was left in, and you can figure out if you want that resident to stay, a renewal package, can they afford it, and you can spread your money out. But we do have about 400 grand for that over the years. The CapEx is really good condition on this. We do have to do a roof on here. So there's about 300,000 for the exterior. That does include, you'll see it in the executive summary when you get there, that Sharpline does keep CapEx money in a bank in case you need to do HVACs. Those things will eat you up. Like I see a lot of operators out there that even on new stuff, I mean, this is 20 years old, which is really good and considered new, but you have condensers that go. So we have money for the condensers that can help us have predictable, smooth cash flow for the future. And we're going to be self-managing it. And the beauty is this allows us to spread costs of resources too, because now we have 60 units up here with 40-40. So it's 140 units together in a triangle of about 5 minutes here and then 15 minutes. So it allows us to reduce the cost for the resources needed as opposed to another group that would come in and just have to run 80 units and probably a pretty high resource cost. And the beauty is if a property needs it, you bring it in for a little bit, bring in more resources, and then you can exit them and put them back in the Kansas City Metro. Go ahead, Lauren. Thank you. All right, and have we done this before? Yes. Well, we did just close on this seller recently with the 32 units LITHC. We did just close on it. So have we done it before though? Yes. This was actually a highly distressed property, 40 units, basically half occupied. That was coming out of LIHTC. And we went to like 30% occupied and we took the rents from 1,000 to 1,400. Huge renovation package. And we are at 95, 97% occupied right now. May is the year that we've had this property, full year. And maybe in the third quarter, it starts to be a time, and interest rates have been kind to us. Part of that is also because, there's some fear in the economy. You're seeing some of the, stock markets getting hit a bit. And you're seeing some of the interest rates come down. That allows Krista and I, because we use Freddie Mac most of the time, you can time your refinance at application, which is very beneficial, and you can time it. And when the interest rates slam down, you just lock it at application and you get a lot more proceeds for your loan, better refis, better rates. And we took advantage of it on this deal. When I say this deal, I mean the Sundance deal. We got 5.99 on this one. We saw a sub 6, and it's not what's called yield maintenance. A lot of people, they tout, I got sub 6 and then it's yield maintenance. Well, if rates really go down and you're stuck with yield maintenance for a very long time, it's a bad day. Krista and I have had that. We had to sell we did well on the property, but we had to sell with an assumption that's getting a little bit wonky on here, but I'll just tease it that we don't do that. We protect ourselves to give us the most exit strategies for both refi and sale. But back to the point, we have done this. Go ahead.
Chris, one thing you left off on, this is a big win for Sharpline. This was a deal that we did with just 5 or 6 people, JV. We closed it with just a few people. And the refi is going to be a really good refi in this one. I mean, this is a great deal and a great find.
We bought this one for 80 a unit and just some extrapolated values at this time. It looks like we'd refi anywhere from the 120 to 150 zone per unit. So that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, really great win that's going to be coming. Excited for our team.
Thank you, Lauren. That we're acquiring this. This is called like a basis play also. But when people say that, they usually mean there's no cash flow. Like you bought something at a very low basis, the lower price, but it's going to be worth something more in the future. This has all the great elements of getting it at a great basis. You have a 2,000 basically product. And like I mentioned, you'll see in the executive summary also, you'll see some other sales talking about 110. There's in Paola itself, which is 15 minutes south of Spring Hill, which does have a pretty high household income, and Paola has less, but it is so close to Spring Hill. It's a similar market, but in Paola itself, there was 110, a door for 1980s built, that was purchased in June. So because we were good buyers, we were able to get this at a price that is going to show as a discount, and definitely a discount from 2 years ago. Once again, LITHC Burnoff. We are at 5.99 on this guy, and basically the unemployment rate of KC is amazing right now. I do think that's going to tick up a little bit just because of you're going to have some unemployment numbers. But just remember, everybody, if you have an increase in unemployment a bit, we're in a market that is shielded a bit compared to some other markets. And if that happens, what the news is bad, the interest rates will go down, and that's good for us. Go ahead, Lauren. Okay, and then for this, the projected returns, basically it's an average across the hold of a 5 to 7 year hold of an average cash on cash return, the cash flow of around 7.5. For those that don't know what a preferred return is, basically the Sharpline sponsors won't make anything unless the investors have made 7% annualized. So if it's 5 years, $100,000 investor is going to make 7,000 times 5 and their original money back before Sharpline makes money. That's the principle of preferred return. It's on a 5 to 7 year hold. It's about a 15% annualized return. That says IRR. Yes, it's about a 15% IRR, but a lot of people can conceptualize annualized better. Usually IRR is used in more of the velocity of money if there is a refi. There is a potential refi in year 3 because of the very good likelihood of the value increase with our LIHTC Burnoff to market rate, with 2 beds and 3 beds getting a lot more rents. Plus 2 or 3 years from now, the vintage, you just get lower cap raits, and there could be a very good refi. And this is looking like
for the new people on here, Christina, Kovacs, Lauren, Venetia, they'll go over the returns and what they mean in more detail, because sometimes it's not easy to explain to if somebody's new on here when they're looking at IRR or preferred return. But yeah, the people that will definitely explain it to you better.
And there is this one's going to distribute monthly, and it will distribute after about 3 to 5 months. We like to get into a property and see that all of our assumptions are good, see the flow of the property, were there any surprises before we start distributing, make sure all the reserves are good, all the assumptions are in line, and then we start distributing. And then we distribute, and then there is like I mentioned, a refinance potential in about year 3. Go ahead, Lauren. I wanted to touch upon something. I think I missed it on the slide before because I was getting too excited. This is a 506B offering, and it does mean that it is for accredited and sophisticated investors. If you are not accredited, and you do really have to know one of the principles of the deal to get into a deal. If you don't know us, please spend time to get to know our the principals. We are there to get to know people because we want to be able to. We do mainly do 506B, and we do have a relationship with all of our investors. So if it's somebody new and you don't know any of the principals, spend some time to get to know everybody. You have Lauren, you have Marco. Krista and I would definitely be ready to get to know you so that we can get you in deals. Kansas City has been an amazing market for us. We've been in a lot of markets. We've been in Atlanta. We got out of Atlanta, thankfully, before it got not so great. And I remember about 4 years ago when we started looking at Kansas City, I had said, I think I missed it by a year. And I said, I'm not doing that again. And after you get into a few different markets, and Krista's been in Ohio, also in a different market other than Columbus, I have been in 2, and then we were both in Augusta as well. Like, you start to understand markets and feel them. And Kansas City was the place that we're like, we want to be in a market that feels steady Eddie with appreciation. And Kansas City was that market. And it allowed us to, and how are we going to hold assets then in markets like that? Self-management. So it's got all these great stats here. It just keeps on getting better and better. The Californians have shown up, ruining it for everybody. Sorry, California here. That means when the Californians show up, it just means that they have figured it out and they want to get in on the action. That's good for us, but it just means we have to work harder to find good deals. But it does mean you have a higher potential of exit at a lower cap rate, higher price. And we love Kansas City, so we're not going anywhere. This is in Miami County, just south. But Johnson County is the southwest county. It's where all the wealth is. You can see the average household income. We're just south of it, so it's the path of progress. That's why you're also purchasing it for a lower price per door than the comparable stuff that we have. But that's where you get the deals. Everything checks a box. There's diverse employment in the area. Olathe Medical Center, and it's not Olathe like you sound. That's like people in Pennsylvania when they say Lancaster. You just sound like you don't belong. You say Lancaster. So if you say Olathe, you just showed that you're a noob. So say Olathe. Olathe Medical Center is 25 minutes from this particular property, and that right there that you see in the corner with the S, that's not our property. Okay, that's our property we purchased two purchases ago, and we put it here just because I want you to see that we're managing it with the two other properties. That's why we're able to buy it and manage it correctly. This is in Spring Hill. Spring Hill is closer to Olathe too. And we just feel that the path of progress is going to be moving in that direction, and Johnson County is great.
So one thing, when Chris came to me and we were doing our first deal in Kansas City, I 2012 to 2019, I closed 1,800 units in Tennessee, Knoxville, and a few in Nashville, which I love the market. And when I saw Kansas City and they were putting in the $1.5 billion airport, and we started buying 2 years before that, and the World Cup was coming and the NFL draft was there, I was like, what is going on here? They're getting eyes on KC. Like KC was a Midwest town, nice, whatever, and just quiet. And all of a sudden, there's a buzz. Restaurant owners are opening really amazing restaurants. The plaza area is beautiful. It's all the buildings are all the Spanish tiles on the top. And I'm from White Plains, Westchester, New York, which is a beautiful town in Westchester near Harrison and Ryan, all that. And the plaza area is prettier than White Plains. And there's a lot of big money in White Plains. So I was really impressed. I told Chris why I'm really excited to get in now and to be in two of the best markets out there. They're two. I'm in two amazing. And as a leader and mentor and teaching people about markets, I'm proud to say that I own property in KCK, KCMO, and Tennessee. So I'm really careful of where I invest my money in what markets.
The other piece too, Marco, also is just the growth in Kansas City that you can see what's going to happen with all the things that you mentioned, airport, things like that. When you have $1 billion airport, you're going to have money and companies that show up. If you're running a $500 million company and you showed up at the last airport, you were about to invest in that company, you would definitely look around and say, is this something that we're supposed to be doing? With the
Yeah,
$1 billion airport, you don't have that kind of question. And there is something going on also at the trolley that's really cool with the plaza area that Marco's talking about. That's more in call it southern downtown if you just want to say that
like a
like that. I
California
know I'm not
trolley
saying
thing.
it
It's
correctly,
awesome.
but in the districts of KC, but just for those so people that don't know Kansas City, it's like the southern edge of downtown, and the trolley is connecting that to the northern part of KC through Crossroads. And when that thing goes in, and it's been going on for 2 to 5 years, and it's kind of a joke in Kansas City, when's this thing going to get done? But I'm telling you, when it's done, you're going to wish you invested in Kansas City. And I think that is it. And that's traditional Sharpline presentations. And the executive summary will be ready tomorrow. So you can go check out the numbers and the rent comps and the sale comps. But I'm happy to answer some questions now, Lauren, if you've seen any that look like I should
Lauren,
answer.
look at some questions while you're doing that. For people who want to meet me or for my investors on here, like always, my cell's there. You could text me anytime tonight, tomorrow. Lauren, her email is there. Reach out to Lauren. Like I said, Venetia's on here. Christina Kovacs is on here. Yosef also. Reach out to your people for all your questions and anything you need. And let's see if there's any questions.
Yeah, Lauren, I'll let you pick out the ones that you think are
And if
Maybe
there
I'm
aren't
sure
any
that some are
questions,
being
we'll.
asked a few
I
times.
don't see any, just so
Oh,
unusual.
really?
Please speak up if anyone has any questions.
Oh, there's definitely some Sharpline fans out there. Come on, and I say that like because I know that there's people that
Well, it's pretty
like
much,
asking
the
questions
deals are
about the
so
deals.
straightforward.
I have a question because
Sure.
hey, thanks to my people for coming on. My cousin Laura is here and she was asking me, why did this owner want to sell if there's upside?
Because they've owned it for a while. Like they are a fund and they reach their point in time when they've owned it and must hit their IRR. Like it would be similar to say to us, and it's a fair question. Why are we selling some of our deals that we've owned for 4 years? And why are we selling it in a market that was just seen as like not the best? We've owned it for 4 years. We're going to get a good price for it. Every year that you keep it, you have to go get your IRR. Remember that the IRR is hungry. One more year, you need the 15%. Are you going to definitely get it? Like the answer is in this particular case, yes, but they don't want to put in the work either to get it. They don't want to go do the work to go say, let me go put the money in. I mean, this roof is going to cost 120,000. Do they want to go put in 120,000? Do they want to go put 400,000 in on a refi to go do this again when they can hit their IRR on what they've done so far? Remember, they bought this property also with LITHC in it, so they paid less, but they couldn't raise rents. And now that this property is reaching a point where we're not restricted to get higher rents, the value goes up for the seller, and we pick a price that works for us while we know we're unrestricted and can now start taking it to market. They do well, we do well. It's the right time.
Okay, great. I have another question from one of my other people that's on the call, Joe. Thanks for coming. He's asking, I think this is New Yorkers not used to Kansas City prices, but he said
Sure.
that the reno budget boils down to $4,700 a unit. Isn't that low?
For 80. So that means that on a couple, we're going to do 2,000 and do nothing and get $200 just because they're in the best condition. And somebody doesn't like, we'll wait for that one until you're getting higher rents. Some will cost 9 or 10,000, but we're not doing gut renos. These are in really good condition. I think there's like one that's not in great condition. And because we self-manage, we can go do that one for $9,000 to $12,000. So the average is, this is on 80 units. So it's a 4-ish thousand per unit blend. And the beauty of that too is you have to remember that you want to leave upside for the next investor. If we're selling in 5 to 7 years, and we did every single unit to the T, what are we selling to the next group? So by having a blend and we're having enough money for 80 units, there could be a certain percentage of the units that are still considered classic for the 5 to 7 years, and that leaves the upside for the next.
Yeah. And also I think $4,000 in New York City sounds like absolutely nothing. So
Yeah, I mean, well, some we're not going to replace appliances. Like you don't have to replace all the white just to make it black or stainless steel. We're not turning this into A class tomorrow and dropping in quartz and like, I mean, trust we've done the $20,000 renos, but you want your $400 to $600 rent bumps to go do that. And make sure you're getting paid back. I get it. P.S. That's why I hope the New Yorkers don't figure out Kansas City for a while. Please don't tell anybody.
And this is not made up on a deal, a 43 unit we have. We're doing decks at 1,300. I'm not kidding. They're 12 to 15,000 minimum. If you did them in New York, it'd be 15,000. I'm not kidding, easily. So yeah, you're dealing with a different. We actually got a super great price on that one because it's probably 6,000 or 7,000. We're saving a lot. But yes, the reason I'm from New York, when I was 23 years old, I bought a 4-family, and that was the last multifamily deal I bought in New York. Me and my brother started buying in Tennessee in 2012, and when we weren't finding deals in Tennessee, I was still in New York at the time, and I said, Gino, I actually got a little bit of money. I might buy another 4-family in New York, and he forbid me to purchase anything else in New York because of the landlord laws and just everything that's going on. And stuff in New York does not cash flow as like my stuff in Tennessee. Absolutely does not. I own them both. I own shopping centers in New York, and I own multifamily in New York. I own the commercial everything in New York. and it was good for tax benefits, but the cash flow in New York City is a different animal. Yes, you could get really, really rich on those big buildings, but when we're talking multifamily, Tennessee, the southern states, the Texas, the Midwest is really where I have been able to do everything.
Yeah, and I think you guys are so experienced that your budgeting is like very much on, so.
There was an important question over here. I want to, this one here from Jack, I want Chris to, because I know the answer, but I want just Chris to cover it. Any problem if Section 8 goes away? Also, does LIHTC, this is the important part, doesn't LIHTC have a 30-year requirement before it can be seen to raise rents? Which
It burned off.
yeah,
That's the technicality of the burn off. There are some residents that do have housing vouchers still. You go into sometimes month to month with them, and the Section 8 still pays. What you want to do is spend the first month or two determining which residents are paying. You know, like you as you leave LIHTC, you can get certain residents that don't keep that they have health violations and things like that. You have the ability in LIHTC burn-off to non-renew. So yeah, we're not restricted by that. That is why the LIHTC burn-off is so sought after. You're not governed by it. You take on the piece where you do have certain residents that are still having housing. You can go to Section 8 too and say, with the residents that are good and paying, and that we feel that these are low. Let's go to Section 8 for a time and raise what we have. It's under market right now. You work with Section 8 and you do that. You work that through. There will be people that just leave and find other housing, and we take those and go to market. And that's the LIHTC burn-off plan. And
Amanda,
it's
go
not
ahead to ask
and
if
it's not
any-
our sorry, it's not our intention to make the news. Like go all market, non-renew everybody, vacate the place. Like you don't have to do that. You can work it with like the price we're paying is good at the average rent that we have, and we know that there's upside. So we do it gradually.
Yeah, hi. This is Jack, and I'm sorry. No, my question is not so much whether a Section 8 tenant is good or bad just because of the Section 8. It was more of with all the things going on with the budgets and federal, and the feds. I hate to even mention the word Trump. I don't know if Section 8 is still going to be there in 60 days, 6 months, and suddenly if you have, I don't know, maybe since it was under market housing before, I thought, what if a quarter of your tenants are on Section 8 and suddenly a quarter of your tenants lose a subsidy? And I just wondered, is that an issue with this particular these complexes, whether you have a large percentage of subsidized tenants, that is going to be a problem if their subsidy goes away?
If Section 8 goes away completely, a lot of folks have issues, but because we're not bound by it, we would just non-renew, and you would move forward with your market increase plan quicker, and you would essentially get there faster. You would be vacant more, to your point, but it would be something that your business plan accelerated to the point where, yeah, for a few months you would have non-paying, but you have reserves, and you have a very robust CapEx budget, and you would just move to market and solve that problem fast, and then you would basically go to market faster with higher rents, and thus essentially get to a refi faster. So I'm just taking a worst case scenario and turning into, I don't want to seem like I'm saying I have rose colored glasses, but it's not a situation that we haven't thought of how to remedy.
And we've
If you
been
are-
there already. I mean, the previous deal that we did with LIHTC went down to 30%, 30% occupancy. We had 70% vacancy. So it's not like we've never dealt with having a significant exodus of residents and had to lease up quickly.
No, I have to say it sounds like you guys, are really experienced in this, and you know how to get tenants in there and screen tenants and get good tenants. So that's
Oh yeah,
it was more of an issue, I think, going into this call, but after hearing you guys talk, this is I can see where you can fill the place. Seem to be able to fill the place up.
I don't think I wouldn't be wanting, like, we wouldn't want to go into like fully subsidized housing from the beginning with restrictions. I think that, to your point, I think that is risky to a sense. I mean, I don't want to get political either, but we are talking about a real estate developer. Like, I just think that like that's an ethos too. I do know that in New York City that there was some risk with some late payments. They were late by a week, I believe. But we're not looking to be like, let's go do this for 5 years with a business plan of keeping it like this. And in fact, it's actually meant to be like the plan is to get out of it gradually. If we were forced very quickly, we would handle it and it would be safe because we're Sharpline.
Amanda Gomez asked, is when we, at the time of purchase, will all of the units have burned off in terms of the LIHTC requirement?
Yes.
Yeah, we have the
they don't
release.
exist now.
It doesn't, in due diligence, they provided us the legal documents showing that the covenants have been lifted.
So the covenant for what the main worry is something called a LURA, a land use restriction agreement. And that LURA basically was part of tax credits and certain pricing that the last purchaser was able to enjoy because there was a LURA in place. And that LURA was basically like you have to have residents making a certain amount of income and then you enjoy certain benefits. That ended. That LURA has expired. And it just because you have people on housing vouchers doesn't mean that you're restricted. In fact, the last deal we did, it's actually housing vouchers with month to month. At any moment, we can say no, and Section 8 still pays. They are governed by the previous lease to pay, and we're in that deal right now, and it's working. So yes, it's not restricted in that manner that would give you pause.
Shalom asked, are you planning to sell both locations of the package on exit, or will you pull more value separating the two properties?
Woo! That is a massively
question.
good question. I love that question. So here's the deal. This is the best part, and I think we're gonna do this to ourselves. We thought of this. We got 2 separate loans on purpose because if you blanket them together, you are restricted in that kind of thesis, right? For flexibility of the exit. If we do 2, so we're going to do it as a holding company, and then there's 2, like you have 2 properties and you have 2 separate loans. And the beauty is too, because they're under 50 units, this was a benefit to this. We were going to do it anyway. Because they're under 50 units, you actually get higher or more advantageous DSCR requirements, and we were able to get more loan proceeds because they're under 50 units. If we had done them together as a blanket, you'd be in 80 units, you wouldn't have got that. To your question though, if we're in that point when it's about IRR and exit, if somebody wants one versus the other and it just seems like an arbitrage, there's a better delta by selling one. Yeah, Krista and I would say sell one, move proceeds into kind of the holding company, return. That's almost like a refi, right? And then we would wait for the right time to sell the last one. If we would look at the market, and it would definitely be a lot of thought that has to go into it, but will both get more? Or are the 40 unit buyers paying more because they want 40 units and you have the right buyer for the 40 units? So the answer is we have the choice. I think that's what makes this investment even better.
And what percentage, just going back to the previous topic, what percentage of residents have vouchers?
It's between 60 and 70 because also you do have they're not on, it's not full pay either. Like some folks are on like $300, some people are on $600, some people are on $750 and they're paying $150. So that's the percentage.
Okay, great. And question from Lisa. Why is the hold 5 to 7 years? What determines that? What happens if you want or need to exit earlier?
So we would exit at year 3 if, well, let's just talk about what's the reality of the market right now. Like the plan is to hold for 5 to 7 years in cash flow and people to enjoy recurring checks. If all of a sudden at year 3, multifamily is just the hottest thing on the planet again, and we are getting 180, 90 a door offers, we should take it, everybody. So like, it's just a moment of knowing like, will this happen again? We feel that we are being not a fiduciary to you if we're not taking a very, very high offer. Yes, it does mean you have to place the money again. But if you're getting a very silly high offer, I do feel that we would have to take it because, but Sharpline's here to create investments that are predictable and smooth. So it would have to be a high offer. If like when the property's doing well and just like shelling cash flow, um, you don't want to sell. To the one that we're selling now, that's exactly what's happening now. The issue while we're selling that one is it's far out, it's very, very far out, and it's been 4 years, and it's the right time to sell that deal. It just is. It's the right time, and we just feel that as a fiduciary to the investors, they're making a fantastic return. And there are opportunities coming up right now with the market having a bit of dislodgement where they want to recharge their capital. Like you win on that investment and now go take advantage of the market having the 92 and a halves a door as a and things like that. So the investors want to recharge.
So on the
And if I can
front-
just add, Chris,
Yeah, go
like
ahead.
one of the things that I think about with this question is 5 to 7 years is it's a comfortable time frame to give us time to execute on it. Most of our deals are 5 to 7 year holds. And it aligns with a lot of the loans, which are usually anywhere between a 5 year, 7, or a 10. So it aligns with the loan terms. It gives us enough time to execute and do what we want to do. And often there's different stages of our business plan where we're doing something in year 2 or year 3 or year 5. But then to Chris's point, we are always looking at the macro market. And if an opportunistic sale comes in at any time between year 1 and year 7, and we feel like it's good for the investor, and then our fiduciary duty is to take advantage of that. But I think those 5 to 7 year timeframes is comfortable for us just to be able to execute on what we want to do.
Yeah,
Agreed.
And being in multifamily as multifamily investors full time, we study market cycles. As we saw in 2021, a lot of beginners were just selling deals because that was the time they were able to 2x a deal and they didn't really know what they were doing. In 23 and 24, the beginners were seeing a lot of problems. Well, a lot of everybody was seeing that. So now as we're studying the market cycles, if in 3 years, it's like Chris said, is a good time to sell and somebody comes with a certain price, that would be great. So it gives him a good window of 3, 4, 5, 6 years of when to refi, when to sell, and what's the best for our investors and our team.
I mean, you could have a strategy too of a 5 to 7 year hold sometimes is a multiple refi strategy too. You look for it as year 3, there's a refinance event, depending how juicy it is, meaning how much you get back. But the property is still one that is dependable and you've understood it and you've limited surprises and you feel like it can go the distance with like the team and the reserves and the investor appetite. And then there could be 2 or 3 years like later that you do another refi. So it's just about setting the expectations with the investor that it's a 5 to 7 year hold is really the thing too.
Lauren, you're on mute.
I apologize. Kyle had a few questions. The first one is essentially what's the total raise that we're bringing in, the aggregate for this deal?
Sure, it's with everything, down payment, reserves, CapEx, closing cost fees, 4.1.
And what is the minimum and is there a maximum investment per individual?
I don't think we have to worry about the maximum too much. Usually, I mean, that would involve somebody as a 1031, or if you wanted to, usually, the reason that we don't talk maximums usually is just because when you start to get over 20%, you move into that person needing to be a signer on the loan as well. And Sharpline principals always sign on the loan. It does mean that if you did a substantial investment of that sort, number one, you would be required most of the time to sign on the loan with us. Also, usually in those circumstances, somebody wants to do a tenants in common, a TIC. So that's that's not on this property. And then the minimum, I actually forget what is the minimum on this. What did we say it is, 50?
We put 50, yes. And then lastly, in terms of tax obligations, what would these distributions or how would these distributions be treated in simple terms?
Okay, so that's a good question. The distribution, so on a, let's use this, like if it's $100,000 investment and we begin cash flowing and say you like the property does cash flow right away, but I mean distributions. You start distributing and you have $100,000 investment and it's 7,000, that's 7%. Basically, what happens is that we treat it as in taxation as a return of principal, so you're not taxed. But that doesn't mean, and this is getting wonky, it doesn't mean that your next year your principal balance from what we say your return is now 93. If you got if say there was no refi, I think that's easier way to conceptualize it. If you did 3 years, 7,000, 7,000, 7,000, at the end of that 3 years and we sold, we would give you the 100,000 back. That's how Sharpline views your return. But from a taxation perspective, you enjoyed 3 years of 7% not taxed, because the way that our accountants send it back to you is that it's a return of principal. Your other, until your principal is returned, it is still considered at risk, so you're not taxed on it. And I'm not an accountant, and
for
I
those
did
few
stay at a
people
Holiday Inn last night, but now that joke's getting old.
few people out there, we do cost segregation studies on the deals, and which will get you tax benefits. And like I said, whoever you're in touch with, whether it's Lauren, me, Yosef, ask them about the 7% preferred return. And according to your $100,000 investment, I don't want to start getting into dollars amounts. I don't want to do, but yeah, the big thing is I love investing in multifamily for the tax benefits. And yes, there's a returns. So that's one thing. And what we always recommend is ask your accountant about these tax benefits. And if he doesn't know about real estate, just get with a real estate accountant, or ask Lauren or me or Yosef, or once again, somebody that you're talking to, that we can, off the call, it's easier to elaborate on these things.
And it is a big if, but there's a lot of talk of retroactive 100% to bonus depreciation. We
Gonna
can't
happen.
guarantee that. We don't want you to make the investment thinking that that would exactly happen. But if it does, and it goes back to 2024, which there's rumors, those that invested would enjoy the 100% bonus depreciation. There is still a bonus. We as Marco mentioned, we do a cost segregation study that allows us to take bonus depreciation, and we will take it for this year as it's been stepping down, which is now in the year of 40%. But if it goes retroactive, it's a big win for the investors.
Lauren,
Right.
I have a few questions from my investors just on how it works. Like, if you could kind of walk through the numbers, like a little bit, like minimum investment, and then what would be expectations of returns? Can you remove the money before 5 years? Yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. No, great questions. So, we could go through this, one-on-one if anyone has any particular questions, but on a high level, let's say you invest $100,000. The first and very important thing to say is no, consider this an illiquid investment until the exit period. I try to drill that into anyone who invests, well, let's say in real estate in general, but certainly in syndications, that until you exit the property, please know that your capital is tied up. So that's number one, to answer your last question, Erica. And then going back, the preferred return is 7%. So what that means is, let's say you invest $100,000 and we exit after 5 years, you need to be getting your 7% preferred return each year, 7% annualized return before the general partners receive any compensation. So for that period. So that's really important, that it sets a floor for your return. And to me, because I've invested passively with many operators, I really love this about Sharpline. It's one of the reasons why I joined. I actually personally invested quite a bit with Sharpline before joining the team. But one of the reasons why I love working with Sharpline is that a lot of the majority of the compensation, and you'll see this in the executive summary, The majority of the compensation comes from the success of the business plan. They're not an operator that's constantly pulling fees from deals. And there's obviously fees and compensation, but it's nowhere near what I've seen from other operators. The majority of the compensation comes from the success of the business plan at exit. So that 7% floor is your floor before you start sharing the profits with general partners.
Yeah, we're incentivized to make the deal work well. That as Lauren said, like the bulk of our compensation is in what's called the promote beyond 7%, and then there's certain waterfalls or hurdles that you'll see in the executive summary, where if it's over a certain percentage, we start sharing more. But the limited partner doesn't mind that because they're getting a high return.
And so to get into the numbers, so the last piece of it was the distribution question, Erica. So 100,000, let's say for round numbers, let's say you invest $100,000. The cash on cash return of this deal is 7.5%. So what that means is you take 7.5%, let's say of $100,000, that's 7,500 divided by 12. You are receiving $625 per month as your distribution. That helps.
And then the projected numbers on this with exit for what we believe is going to be the foreseeable appreciation is 15 plus. So 5 years, 15% times 5 is the sort of quick and dirty return. But there is a potential of a refinance event too, but it's hard to, I mean, we're putting projections there, but there could be a return of capital event in 3 years that where you get some of your equity back and then put it into some other investment vehicle. And that's where the IRR comes in.
So the full executive summary with all of these numbers is going to be up tomorrow on the portal, along with this presentation and this recording. So all of this information, again, with detailed numbers, will be included. By the end of business day tomorrow, you'll see all of it in the portal so that you can pull it all. And any questions, feel free to reach out to me, Marco, anyone on the team, you're welcome to.
Anybody else? Is that it, Lauren? Was there any more?
That was the last question. Yep.
Oh, well, thank you everybody for joining. I feel like we talk a blue streaks sometimes, but I hope we kept it enjoyable and pertinent. Didn't get too wonky on some of the minutia of multifamily investment, but we love this stuff, and we thank you for spending your evening with us, and we hope you join us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. And
Bye.
definitely reach out to everybody and get your questions answered. And we're going to send whoever made it tonight, we're still going to send you guys a recording so you can rewatch it and learn about the deal and just learn about multifamily. One last thing I want to say is my 20-year-old just called me. She's in 2 syndications and 1 generational wealth deal with me. She's 20 years old. And I believe so much in multifamily. I'm on my 49th deal. I always say one last thing. Lauren was talking about this stuff. I like to own brick and wood instead of fake paper. I do own a few stocks and I love crypto, but diversification, if you guys haven't jumped into multifamily, just to let you know why I think it's the best asset. I do own 49 deals. That's how strongly I believe in multifamily. And I actually, for my 3 daughters, my goal is to get to 70 deals. I never thought after 30 years old, I had a 4-unit when I was 30. I never thought I'd have more than 6 or 8 units, but somehow I just put my head down. I don't know how I got here. I just don't even look back. I just keep going with Chris and my partners. And my goal one day is to have 70 deals because I love this space and I love what we do and I love my team. So I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. And once again, get your questions answered. Don't feel, be nervous to reach out to us, and have a great night.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.